Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to Easy Mathematics. We thank God today is another day. Today we want to look at angles, and this angles is for both Basic 7 and for JHS 3 candidates going to write their end of year exams. And also a colleague said we should explain the angles to him for him to get the clear idea of it. So today we are looking at angles, and when we say angle, angles are formed when two lines meet. So the moment two lines meet, an angle is formed between the two lines. And also what we should know is that angles are always measured in degrees. Angles are always measured in degrees, like written in the form of 0 as a superscript on the right of the number. That is how angles are written, or angles are measured in degrees. Good. So let's quickly glance through the types of angles. So we have an acute angle. When we say acute angle, an acute angle is an angle said to be less than 90 degrees. So this symbol here is used to represent an unknown angle, which is theta. So we are saying that if the theta is less than 90 degrees, then that angle is an acute angle. Then we also have obtuse angle. With the obtuse angle, it is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. That is the obtuse. Then we have reflect, which we didn't write. The reflect is greater than 180. It's greater than 180 but less than 360 degrees. Then we also have the right angle. With the right angle, theta is equivalent to 90 degrees. So the theta, remember we said the theta is an unknown angle. So we use the theta to represent any angle that we don't know. So a right angle is an angle that is equal to 90 degrees. That makes the angle right angle. Good. And under this, we also have complementary and supplementary angles. Now, these two angles are different in a way that, or in a sense that, with the complementary angles, there are two angles that when you sum them, it gives you 90 degrees. There are only two, not three, not four, only two angles. So any two angles that their sum is being measured up to 90 degrees, then those two angles are complementary angles. Then with the supplementary angles is when also two angles, but yes, their sum measures to 180. So if the angles are more than 2 and sum to 180, that is not a supplementary angle. With a supplementary angle, two angles that sum up to 180. So those two angles can be called supplementary. But the complementary is when two angles sum to 90 degrees. Good. Now let's look at the calculations involved when it comes to angles. Now we can be asked to calculate angles at right angle. And most of the time, under the right angle, what helps you to identify that this angle is at right angle is when you are able to locate this at the angle. When you are able to locate this sign at the corner of the shape or where the lines meet, if you are able to locate this, then this is trying to tell you that I am 90 degrees. So 90 degrees, instead of them writing this for you, they can give you this telling you that it is right angle. And most of the time, this line, we say this line is perpendicular to the baseline, and that gives you an angle of 90 degrees. So let's look at the calculations involved in right angle. So with a right angle, it is equal to 90. So if you are having a length or two lines meeting at this, and you are seeing this symbol here, it is telling you that all the angles you are seeing from this side to this side, all the angles sum up to 90 degrees. So if you have been asked to calculate for the value of x, then it means if I'm to sum these two, should give me 90 degrees. So we are going to say 35 degrees plus x degrees is equal to 90 degrees. Remember, we said angles are measured in degrees. So if you are working for angles, your degrees must be there. So it is only the degree that helps us to identify that this is an angle. So here, you are solving for x, and this becomes an equation where you are to calculate for x. So what do? We let the x stand alone by covering the 35. So we are going to write x is equal to 90 degrees. So x degrees is equal to 90 degrees. Now this 35, we are going to carry it to the other side. And the sign in front of the 35 happens to be positive, but we don't write. Now once the 35 crosses, it becomes negative 35 degrees. Then you just subtract 35 from 90 degrees. And that gives you 55 degrees. So x is equal to 55 degrees. So the angle that I have here, which is x, is 55 degrees. So now, per the definition we gave here, that complementary angles are angles that when you sum them, they give you 90. Two angles. Since the angles here are 2, so therefore we can say 35 degrees and 55 degrees are complementary angles, because their sum, they are only two angles, and their sum is giving us 90 degrees. So these two angles are complementary. Good. Now let's take another example under the right angle triangle. Here too, you have this shape, which is telling you that this shape is telling you that I am at right angle. And since I am at right angle, if you should sum everything here, that will give you 90 degrees. If you sum everything there. So what are we going to do? We are going to add this plus this plus this. Then we equate it to what? To 90 degrees. So what do we have here? We have 10 degrees plus, here we have x plus 3 degrees. So x plus 3 degrees plus 15 degrees is equal to 90 degrees. We are solving for x. So now that you have this equation, what do? You just make x the subject. By looking at all the numbers on your left, we can say 10 plus 3 is 13. Then the 13 plus this 15 will give us 28. So x plus 28 degrees is equal to 90 degrees. Remember, we are working with angles, so our degrees are very, very important. So now, we want x. What do? Wanting x means let x stand alone. So if you cover the 28, you have x is equal to 90. So we write it down as x degrees is equal to 90 degrees. So this plus 28 will move to the side of the equation. Once it moves, the sign in front of it will change. And this is because it is crossing the equal to sign. So we have this as negative 28 degrees. Then what do? You just subtract the 28 from 90 degrees. And that gives you 62 degrees. That gives you 62 degrees. So x is equal to 62 degrees. Now look at something here. Now you will notice that the angles here are 3. They are 3. And therefore, if I sum this and this and this, it is giving me 90 degrees. But since they are not 2, these angles are not complementary angles. It is only when the two angles sum up to 90. So since the three angles that are giving me 90 degrees, those three angles are not complementary angles. It is only when you sum two angles that gives you what? 90 degrees, that you can say they are complementary. So 45 plus 45 will give me 90, meaning those two angles are complementary what? Angles. And if I'm to have, let's say, 50 plus 40 degrees, this 50 plus 40 gives me 90. So these two angles are complementary angles. Remember, complementary angles, our angles are said to be complementary if the sum of two angles are 90 degrees. Good. Now let's look at the next one. Now we are done with the right angle. Now sometimes an angle can be given on a straight line. So let's look at angles on a straight line, or adjacent angles on a straight line. Now, once the question is given to you, you'll be able to know that this line is a straight line by just observing the angle that has been given, the question that has been given. Once you are able to identify a straight line, then know that all the angles on the straight line, so taking this as my straight line, all the angles on this straight line, they sum up to 180 degrees. If I sum all together, so what do I have? Now, I have this angle, which is A plus 30 degrees. Then I have 60 degrees here. Now, the question says, find or solve for A. Now, since the angles are on a straight line, then I will sum this angle and this angle and equate it to 180. This is because it is on a straight line. So, solving this will give us the angle here is A plus 30 degrees. Then we add this angle to it, plus 60 degrees. Then we equate it to 180. Now, this gives you an equation solving for A. Now, since you are solving for A, we are going to put these two angles together, giving you A plus 90 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Now, what do? We want A. Since you want the A, then let the A stand alone. By covering the 90 gives you A is equal to this. So we say A degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Then the 90 will move, negative 90 degrees. Subtracting will give you A is equal to 90 degrees. Now this is the value of A. So A is equal to 90 degrees. Now let's take note here. Let's take note of something here. The A is this one. So if we are to substitute the A here, this is going to be 90 plus 30, which is giving us an angle of 120 degrees. Now the angle here is 60 degrees. Now these two angles, you see there are only two. These two angles, this and this, the sum is giving you 180 degrees. So since the two angles are giving us a sum of 180, then these two angles are supplementary. That's why the supplementary is when two angles are summed up to get 180. Only two angles. But if you sum three angles to get 180, those three angles are not supplementary angles. So 120 degrees plus 60 degrees giving you 180 makes these two angles a supplementary angle or supplementary angles. Let's look at the second one and see if they are also supplementary. Now you have 20 degrees plus A plus 50 degrees, 35 degrees plus 75 degrees. and you are solving for A. We are solving for A. Now, once I'm solving for A, I should first know that is the A at right angle, is it on a straight line, or it's not on a straight line? If it is on a straight line, you can see that the angles are on a straight line. Now, the reason why angles on a straight line is 180 is because if I'm to have a complete circle like this, now we know that the total angle of a circle is 360. And the center of the circle here, if I'm to rule a line from the circumference of the circle to another circumference through the center, like this, through the center like this. Now this is my center. Now we know that the total angle of a circle is 360. So it means this portion is 180 and this portion is 180. So if I want to clean this side like this, now this gives me an angle of what? Of 180. That is why we always say angles on a straight line is 180 degrees. So what we have to know is that anytime the angles are on a straight line, it is what? 180 degrees. Good. So sum all the angles here and you equate it to 180 degrees. So we are going to say 20 degrees plus A plus 35 degrees plus 70 degrees is equal to 180. Since it is on a straight line. So what do? First add the numbers on this side of the equal to sign, or you can say group like terms. So you have A plus 20 degrees plus 35 degrees plus 70 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Now sum these ones together. Now if you sum this and this, you are getting A plus, this is giving you 55 degrees plus 70 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. If you sum this and this, what are we getting? We are getting A plus 125 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. We want A. So since we want A, then it means we have to make A the subject. How can you make A the subject? By just taking the 125 to this side, and that is going to give you A is equal to 180 degrees minus 125 degrees. Here what do? We just subtract 125 from 180. And what are we getting? That is going to give us A as 55 degrees. When you subtract 125 from 180, that is going to give you 55 degrees. So now the A that you have here is 55. Yes, all the angles that you sum up here gave you 180. But these angles are not supplementary. Why? Because they are more than 2. And supplementary is when only 2 angles sum up to what? Sum up to 180. Good. So let us look at the last one under supplementary angles on a straight line. Now you see, these angles are not supplementary. Let me repeat again. These angles are supplementary because they are the only 2 angles that we've summed and has given us 180. We have other supplementary angles, but the angles are only what? Only 2. Let's look at the last one. You have to find for x, or you have to solve for x. Now, solving for x, identify the possible solutions you can use. Is the angle on a straight line, or is at right angle? Here we can use 2 ideas. Angles on a straight line and also right angle. Once this side is 90 degrees, then this side is also what? 90 degrees. But we should know that this shows, or this tells us that the angle here is 90 degrees with the help of this thing. So we can add everything on the straight line and equate it to 180. Or you can just add this one and equate it to 90 degrees. So we can say 90 degrees plus 2x plus 10 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Since we are adding it on a straight line. So now this and this will give us 2x plus 100 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. What do we do from here? We group like terms. So grouping like terms will give you 2x is equal to 180 degrees minus 100 degrees. From here, you just subtract the 100 from 180. And that gives you 2x is equal to 80 degrees. Here you want x, but 2 is attached to x. So what do? We are going to divide both sides by 2 so that the x can stand alone. So this will give you 2x divided by 2, 80 divided by 2. So this will cancel out this. Now leaving behind x. Now 2 will go into 80 40 times, giving you 40 degrees. So the value of x is 40 degrees. And this is how we calculate angles on a straight line. So for this one, for both Basic 7 and JHS 3, that is those of us going to write our BECE 2022. It can come section A, where you have to find the missing value. Now these are the stepping stones to the ones that we are yet to talk about. So let us all try to understand the fundamentals in this. So the opposite of the angles on a straight line is the angles around a fixed point, where that one you have to add everything around the point and equate it to 360. Now let's look at the last one for today. Now this one is vertically opposite angle. Now with this one, we concentrate more on the opposite, not necessarily be vertical, as in up and down or in a vertical line way, but we consider it in an opposite way. Now when we say something is opposite, it means it is facing you directly. So something that is opposite means you are facing the thing. So opposite angles are classified as vertically opposite angles. Now if an angle is opposite to another, then those two angles are said to be equal. So vertically opposite angles are equal. Now you should know when an angle is opposite to the other one. Now looking at this diagram, it explains the vertically opposite angles in a sense that this angle, which is the A, is opposite to this, and this angle, which is the D, is opposite to this. So once you are able to see that an angle is opposite to another, then those two angles are equal. So we say vertically opposite angles are always equal. So if A is 60 degrees, then it means this one is also what? 60 degrees. If D is 120 degrees, then C is also 120 degrees. So you can see the expression here that A is equal to B and D is equal to what? C. This is because vertically opposite angles are always equal. Good. Let's take an example. This one we have only two. Let's take an example. Now look at the diagram carefully. Anytime the diagram is given, consider and check if there is a right angle, if the angles are on a straight line, or possibly if they are at opposite sides. When they are at opposite sides, you apply the vertically opposite angles. When they are on a straight line, you apply angles on a straight line. If it is at right angle, you apply angles at right angle. So now look at this. You can see clearly that this side is opposite to this. Then also, this side is also opposite to this. But just that the angles here, the angle here has been divided into two. That is 50 and x. So if this angle has been divided into two, and they are saying opposite, vertically opposite angles are equal, then it means the angle here is the same as the angle here. So if I'm to sum this and this together, if I'm to sum this and this, then it's going to give me the 120. Now this is because the angles are at opposite sides. And it being at opposite sides, then they are equal. So if I want my x, I can say 120 degrees is equal to 50 degrees plus x. Now this becomes an equation for you to solve. Always we let the variable we are solving for be positive. So if I want the x to be positive, I'll maintain the x and rather shift or carry the 50 to this side, which will give me 120 degrees minus 50 degrees is equal to x. You do your subtraction. What do we have? We have 70 degrees is equal to x. So therefore, x is equal to what? 70 degrees. And this is all about the vertically opposite angles. With the vertically opposite angles, know the angle that is opposite to the other. Then you solve for it. Now let's look at the last one. Find the value of YWZ or WYZ. Try and see if some of the angles are opposite. Now you can see clearly that for this and this, they are opposite. You can also see clearly that this angle is on a straight line. So to solve for W, I can apply the angles on a straight line to solve for W by adding this plus this and equating it towards 180. Then you solve. You can also see that this is also a straight line. So if I know W, then this plus this will also give me what? 180. I can also solve Y by adding this, taking this as my straight line and adding this plus this and equating it to 180. Or you can see clearly too that the angle here is vertically opposite to the angle here, which means this and this are equal because vertically opposite angles are equal. This Z is also equal to this because they are at opposite sides. This is also at opposite sides, so they are equal. So once the diagram is given, try and identify the various ways of solving. Try and see if you can use the right angle, angles on a straight line, then use the vertically opposite angles. Once you are able to identify these three in any given diagram, you can solve it. Good. So now let's look at how to solve this. Now we can say y is equal to 50 because they are vertically opposite angles. So here we can say y is equal to 50 degrees. Now if my y is 50 degrees, how can I solve w? Now take the w as a straight line. Angles on a straight line. And what did we say angles on a straight line sum up to? They sum up to 180 degrees. So if I want W, then I'm going to say W plus 50 degrees plus 60 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Adding this will give me 110 degrees. Sorry. Will give me 110 degrees, which is equal to 180. So my W plus this. Now we want W. What do? We group like 10 by taking the 110 to this side, giving you W is equal to 180 degrees minus 110. So W is what? 70 degrees. So one can see clearly that this and this, they are vertically what? Opposite. Now how can I solve for my z? I can also take this as a straight line like this. I can take this as a straight line and add all the angles on that straight line like this. All the angles on the straight line and also equate it to 180. Or since I know my y as 50 degrees and I know my w as 70 degrees, I can take it a complete circle. I can take it complete like this and add all the angles including z and equate it to 360, and that one happens to be angles around a fixed point. So if you take this as your straight line, you add this plus this plus this, then you equate it to 180. So let's say you want to take it on a straight line. So we are going to say z plus w plus 50, z plus w plus 50 is equal to 180 degrees. We have solved for w and we said w is 70. So z plus 70 plus 50 degrees is equal to 180. Adding this is going to give you 120. So we have z plus 120 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Z is equal to 180 degrees minus 120 degrees. Subtracting will give you z is equal to 60 degrees. Looking at it, you can say they are vertically what? Opposite. So once vertically opposite angles are equal and we have 60, it means we are correct. So once it is given, look at it in the various ways and see if you can give your solution. So therefore, y is equal to 50 degrees, w is equal to 70 degrees, and z is equal to 60 degrees. So these are the basics in angles. Let's try to understand the angles at a right angle, angles on a straight line, those that are supplementary summing to 180, those that are complementary summing to 90 degrees, and vertically opposite angles. We'll meet again on angles and we'll look at angles formed by a parallel line or angles between lines that are parallel. See you again next week, and please don't forget to hit the subscription button. You can share the link once the video is uploaded for others to also be educated. Please subscribe, share, and comment if you also have a question. You can also sponsor this program. We'll be very grateful if you give a helping hand. The name is Christian. See you next week. Bye-bye.